There's a voice that's been trying to reach you, not from the world, not from a preacher, not from the noise, but from something deeper. It's not asking for your opinion. It's not waiting for your readiness. It's calling you by name, because heaven has an assignment that only your heartbeat fits. You don't feel worthy. You don't feel chosen. You feel forgotten, invisible in your own story. And yet, here it is again, that whisper that haunts your stillness. You are the only one who can do this. No one else has your wounds. No one else carries your battle history. No one else was there in that moment when it all should have ended, but didn't. You were kept. You were shaped, not to survive, but to build something eternal. There's something hidden in you that the world needs, but it can't be mass-produced. It can't be copied. It can't be delivered by someone more confident, more successful, more put together, because it was never about them. It was always about you. You think it's too late? Good. That's usually when God begins. Let's go back, not to the moment it fell apart, but to the moment you didn't. When everyone left, but you stayed. When they said you wouldn't make it, but breath still filled your lungs. When you stared down your shame, your failure, your silence, and kept walking anyway. That was the beginning. This is the middle. And the middle always feels like a trap, a loop, an endless wilderness where purpose looks like punishment. But it's not. It's training ground. It's holy ground.
It's where heaven watches to see if you'll carry what you've been entrusted with, or drop it when it gets too heavy. No one sees what it costs you to keep showing up, but God does. The tears you cried when no one was watching, collected. The prayers you whispered when no one believed in you, heard. The forgiveness you gave that broke you inside, counted. Because nothing in God's kingdom is wasted. So don't you dare believe the lie that says someone else will finish what you were born to start. That someone else is coming to replace you. There is no plan B. There's just obedience or regret. And regret is a slow poison. This thing you're carrying, the burden, the calling, the strange sense of, I don't know why, but I have to, it's not coincidence. It's not mental. It's not a phase. It's God putting eternity into your bones and daring you to believe it. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to disrupt. You were meant to wreck darkness and carry light into places where no one else is willing to go. And that kind of assignment comes with weight. It'll keep you up at night. It'll make you question your sanity. It'll cost you people, comfort, even your reputation. But it will give you something sacred. Clarity, unshakable peace, heaven's smile. Some people are called to speak. Some are called to build. But a rare few, the ones like you, are called to suffer well and still rise. Jesus did not come to make you comfortable. He came to make you dangerous to darkness, to set you apart, to anoint you with a fire that doesn't flicker when storms hit, to give you something that breaks when you keep it and multiplies when you give it away.
The world is desperate, not for more influencers, not for louder voices, but for people who carry oil, people who have been crushed, pressed, and purified in silence. That's you. You're not late. You're not behind. You are right on time for the miracle you were born to unleash. You were created with a void that only heaven could fill, and now it overflows. And no,
It doesn't make sense to them. To the world, you're unqualified. To your past, you're disqualified. But to God, you're exactly who He planned on from the beginning. Remember that night you almost gave up? That conversation that broke you? That silent breakdown in the car? He was there, not just watching, waiting for you to come to the end of yourself so He could begin. It's not the strong He uses, it's the surrendered. Your not enough is exactly enough in His hands. Your fear, your failure, your mess, all of it becomes the canvas He paints redemption on. You're not here to play it safe. You're not here to be liked. You're here to break cycles, to raise altars, to slay giants nobody else even sees. You're the first in your family to do this, the first to stay faithful, the first to say no to generational chains, the first to say yes to something eternal. Do you feel the tremble in your chest right now? That's not emotion, that's recognition.
Because your spirit knows something your flesh still doubts. You were born for this moment. And no, it won't be easy. You'll be misunderstood. You'll walk alone at times. You'll doubt yourself. But He will never leave you. Because what He starts, He finishes. And He started something in you. It's okay if you don't see the full picture yet. Moses didn't. David didn't. Mary didn't. Even Jesus had to walk in obedience step by step, sweat, blood, and all. But here's the truth they all learned. If you don't step out, you'll never see the sea part. If you don't swing the stone, you'll never see the giant fall. If you don't carry the cross, you'll never see the resurrection. You are not here by accident, and the time for running is over. Stand in it, speak into it, bleed into it if you have to, because the world is aching for what you carry. You are the only one who can do this, not because you're better, but because you're chosen. So don't look for confirmation. Walk in conviction. Don't wait for applause. Move with authority. The gates of hell are not shaken by inspiration. They tremble at obedience.
So rise, wipe your tears, silence the doubts, and step into the fire. Because when heaven wrote your name, hell flinched. The storm wasn't an accident. It didn't show up because you did something wrong. It came because you carry something right. And it came to test what hell already knows. You're dangerous when you realize who you are. You thought the storm was here to break you, but it was sent to reveal you. Because storms don't shape the chosen, they reveal the chosen. Anyone can shout praise when skies are clear, but only those with heaven in their lungs can worship through the thunder. Only those with scars and secrets and silence can keep walking through a war with hands still raised. That's you. And here's the uncomfortable truth no one preaches. God doesn't always calm the storm. Sometimes He sends you into it so others can see it doesn't own you. Because fire doesn't burn what was forged in it. Look around. You've been in places you should have drowned in. You've carried things that should have broken your spine. You've smiled through tears no one else even saw. And still you're here, breathing, braver than yesterday, even if your hands shake. That's not weakness, that's glory. You didn't survive that heartbreak for decoration. You didn't bury that version of yourself just to blend in. You went through that hell because you're called to rescue others from it.
And if you're waiting for someone to give you permission, stop. God already did. The enemy hoped you'd get tired. He hoped the betrayal would make you bitter. He hoped the loneliness would silence you. But it didn't, because something unexplainable lives in you, a kind of fire that refuses to die quietly. They told you to be realistic. You stayed faithful. They said, it's too much. You said, He's enough. They said you should quit, but something inside you said, I can't. You didn't ask for this burden. You didn't chase this calling, but it found you. And now you have a choice. Lay it down or carry it higher. You weren't chosen for ease. You were chosen for impact. And impact always leaves a bruise. Think of Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold, imprisoned, forgotten. And still, he rose. Why? Because destiny doesn't die in dungeons. Because when the favor of God marks you, the lies of men can't erase it. When heaven puts a dream in your spirit, hell can't kill it with delay. Yes, the pit was deep. Yes, the prison was long, but the throne had your name on it the whole time, just like yours does.
So the storm, that was part of the map. Because what God has for you isn't found in the easy. It's uncovered in obedience. You thought you needed strength, but you needed surrender. You thought you needed clarity, but you needed faith. You thought you needed answers, but what you really needed was yes. Yes, Lord, even when I'm scared. Yes, Lord, even when I'm confused. Yes, Lord, even when I'm bleeding. Because the call doesn't wait for your comfort. It demands your trust. You want the sea to split? Step into it. You want the wall to fall? March around it, even when it feels stupid. You want the miracle? Lay down what little you have, even when it's all you've got. This walk, this Jesus walk, is not for the faint-hearted. It's for the wild ones, the remnant, the misfits, the ones who got overlooked by people, but hand-picked by God. You are one of them, and the reason it's been so heavy lately? Because you're close. The pressure always increases before breakthrough. You think it's coincidence that you're being tested now? It's confirmation. You're stepping into something that was always meant for you, but it has to be carried in purity, not pride.
In sacrifice, not spotlight. In trust, not titles. So stop asking, why me? Start declaring, send me. Because the world doesn't need another perfect voice. It needs a real one, and yours was forged in tears. So speak, act, build. Do the thing no one in your bloodline ever dared to. Stand when they expect you to crumble. Sing when they expect you to be silent. Move forward when fear tells you to freeze. Heaven backs the obedient, not the qualified. You think you're not enough? Good, because that means God will be. You think you failed too many times? Perfect. That means His grace can be seen clearly through you. You think you're too broken? Welcome to the story. Every vessel He uses leaks. Every warrior He sends has limps. Every voice He anoints has known silence. Because perfection never changed the world, obedience did. There's a door in front of you. It won't open until you knock. It won't move until you step. It won't shift until you stop rehearsing failure and start walking like you're already free. Chains don't break by accident. Walls don't fall without sound. So speak, even when your voice trembles.
Move, even when your feet drag. Pray, even when your heart is numb. You are the only one who can do this because you're the only one who's been through your storm. And that storm didn't come to stay. It came to prove that what's in you is stronger than what's around you. So don't hide it. Don't downplay it. Don't delay it. It's time. Heaven is watching. Hell is trembling. And the world is waiting because you carry something eternal. You are an answer, a weapon, a gate for glory to enter through. And the same storm that tried to destroy you will now be the testimony that sets others free. This is not the end of your story. This is the ignition. So let the storm rage. You know who walks on water. There's a moment every chosen one faces. It doesn't come with lightning. It doesn't come with angel choirs. It comes with silence. Not a peaceful silence, not a restful pause, but the kind that echoes through your soul like a question left unanswered. Where are you, God? It's not rebellion. It's not doubt. It's raw. It's honest. It's real faith standing in the middle of a holy contradiction. You prayed with everything. You waited with hope. You obeyed. And still, nothing moved. Not the door, not the pain, not the heavens. It's in these moments that many walk away. They confuse silence for absence. They think the stillness means rejection. But those who carry glory, they learn the truth. When God is silent, He's trusting you. Not testing, trusting. He's watching to see if you'll still worship when there's no spotlight. If you'll still walk when there's no map. If you'll still believe when there's no sign. This is the training ground of those who shift history. This is where heaven separates fans from followers. Anyone can follow Jesus when miracles are falling like rain, but when the sky goes quiet, when the prayers echo back empty, when the fire doesn't fall and the crowd disappears, that's when He watches the closest. Will you still stay? Because the most dangerous weapon in the kingdom isn't the loudest voice. It's the obedient one. The one who doesn't flinch when the answer is wait. The one who doesn't run when there's no applause. The one who doesn't give up when the prophecy takes longer than expected. You felt it. The ache of obedience. When He asked you to stay. When leaving would have been easier. When He asked you to let go. When holding on would have felt safer.
And you did it. Not because you had to, but because something in your soul whispered, He's worth it. That's what sets you apart. He's not just after your gifts, He's after your trust. And sometimes trust is built in silence. You think you're buried, but you're planted. You think you're forgotten, but you're being hidden. You think you're stuck, but you're being forged. The promise still stands, even if the process feels cruel. You didn't miss it. You didn't mess it up. You're not behind. This right here is part of the call. Because before the fire falls, there's an altar to build. Before the oil flows, there's a crushing. Before resurrection, there's a cross. He's not ignoring you. He's investing in you. Because some people get assignments, but you got access. You don't just carry a word, you carry weight. The kind of weight that breaks things in the spirit. The kind of weight that makes demons tremble. The kind of weight that turns prisons into pulpits. And that kind of authority, it can't be microwaved.
It's built in quiet obedience, in late nights of tears and unanswered questions, in secret sacrifices no one will ever celebrate, in yes after yes with no guarantee of reward, just the raw conviction that He is who He says He is. Do you feel it? That tension in your chest, that quiet tug, that almost unbearable ache to just know that He still sees you. He does. But sometimes He hides just to see if you'll still search. Not because He's cruel, but because love without trust is shallow. And your calling is too deep for shallow foundations. So He goes quiet. Not to punish, but to purify. Not to confuse, but to confirm. Not to push you away, but to pull you deeper. deeper into who you are, deeper into who He is, deeper into the kind of faith that isn't moved by storms, applause, or delay. This is the kind of faith that parts seas. This is the kind of faith that shakes prison walls. This is the kind of faith that raises the dead. It's being born in you now. And if you feel like it hurts, that's because it's real. This isn't pretty Christianity. This is blood and guts, carry your cross, weep on the floor faith. The kind Jesus walked with. So no, you're not crazy. You're just chosen. Chosen for something too heavy to carry without Him, too sacred to explain to others, too costly to pick up without surrendering everything else. You've tried laying it down. You've tried walking away, but it won't leave you.
Because it's not just a calling, it's a covenant. It's the thing that wakes you up at night, the thing that stirs your soul when everything looks calm on the outside, the thing you can't unfeel, unhear, unsee. God's silence isn't rejection, it's a setup for you to find out that your faith isn't fragile, that your trust wasn't based on convenience, that your yes doesn't need proof, just presence. And here's what most people won't tell you. The deeper the silence, the louder the anointing. The longer the wait, the greater the weight. The greater the crushing, the purer the oil. And that oil, it's not for you. It's for the ones you'll reach. The broken, the forgotten, the ones who need more than inspiration. They need resurrection. And you carry it. You are the one with oil in your jar. You are the one who said yes when it cost everything. You are the one still standing when others walked away. So don't let the silence fool you. He's not distant. He's just closer than ever. And He's getting ready to release through you what He couldn't trust anyone else with. You were made for this moment. Even if it scares you, even if you feel unprepared, even if all you have is brokenness and breath. Because He's not waiting for your perfection. He's moving through your permission. Let Him use it all. The silence, the scars,
The secrets, the story. You are the only one who can do this, because you're the only one who walked through what you did and didn't give up. So rise, even if you don't feel ready. Speak, even if your voice shakes. Move, even if your feet drag. Trust, even if the heavens are quiet. He's still God. You're still chosen. And this is still just the beginning. You want to know something wild? The enemy saw it before you did. That's why he attacked so early. That's why your childhood was chaos. That's why betrayal came from the people closest. That's why your mind became a battlefield before your voice even found volume. Because he saw what you didn't, that you were marked, not by pain, by purpose. He saw your future not through the lens of who you were, but who you would become, and it terrified him. So he tried to stop you the only way he could, early. Not with a sword, with shame. Not with chains, with comparison. Not with fire, with silence. Because he knew he couldn't defeat you directly, but if he could convince you to defeat yourself, he'd never have to. That's why it's always been heavier for you. Others walk through fire and don't smell like smoke. But you carry ashes. Ashes of friendships that cracked under pressure.
Ashes of prayers that didn't get answered the way you thought they would. Ashes of, God, where were you when... But listen close. Ashes are not the end. They're the start. Beauty
always rises from ashes, but only in surrendered hands. You've got two choices now. Bury your calling in the dust of disappointment, or place it back in the hands of the one who never left you, even when you thought he did. Because he was there, in the chaos, in the confusion, in the cold silence between your cries. Not because he caused it, but because he trusted you to walk through it. It wasn't punishment. It was prophecy in motion. You were becoming something the world wasn't ready for, and the enemy knew it. So he sent distraction, he sent division, he sent doubt. But here you are, still breathing, still standing, still dangerous. You've already proven that hell couldn't break you. Now it's time to prove that heaven can build with you. You've been asking the wrong question. Not, why did this happen to me? But what did this awaken in me? Because that pain, it planted something. A hunger, a depth, a grit. Now you pray different. Now you move different. Now you worship with a kind of desperation that can't be taught, only earned through fire. And that's exactly why you're still here. Because while others look for platforms, you're carrying presence. While others chase influence, you've been trained in the wilderness. You've learned how to walk with a limp, how to lead with tears, how to fight with scripture and shout with scars. And that's what heaven needs right now. Not polished perfection, but raw obedience. Because the world is exhausted with empty words. It's hungry for real authority. And you've been given authority that costs something. So stop apologizing for the fire you carry. Stop hiding the depth of your warfare. Stop downplaying the weight of your anointing. You are not too much. You're just too real for what's fake. You walk into rooms and the atmosphere shifts. You speak truth and the darkness twitches. You pray and things in the spirit world move not because you're loud, but because you're loyal to Him. Even when it hurt, even when it didn't make sense, even when it would have been easier to walk away, you stayed. That counts for more than you know, because when heaven looks for someone to trust with the next move, it doesn't look for the loudest. It looks for the surrendered, the consistent, the ones who show up even when the feelings don't. You are one of them, and that's why the enemy keeps coming after your mind. Because he knows if he can't stop you from believing, he'll try to stop you from moving. If he can't break your faith, he'll try to dull your urgency. But not this time. This time, you're waking up. This time, you're calling it what it is, warfare. This time, you're walking different. Not aimlessly, not emotionally, not reactively, but with fire. Because you finally understand the weight you carry isn't a burden. It's a key. And it unlocks things in the spirit that would otherwise remain closed. You don't just break chains. You carry blueprints. Blueprints for healing. Blueprints for restoration. Blueprints for revival. And no, you don't need a stage. You just need surrender. The miracle is not in being known. It's in being faithful. So go ahead. Build the thing no one understands. Speak the truth no one wants to say. Love the ones no one else will touch. Pray over the dry bones until they rattle. Do it broken. Do it scared. Do it overlooked. Just don't do it silent, because there's a sound in you that hasn't been released yet. And when it breaks out, things will shift. Atmospheres will change. Chains will crack. Hearts will awaken. Because when God designed the assignment, He already counted the cost. And He still picked you. Let that settle. He knew your flaws. He knew your patterns. He knew your past. He knew the detours, the breakdowns, the silent rage, the half-finished prayers. And still, He called you. You. Not the version you think you should be. Not the one you show online. The real you. The one who still wrestles. The one who still cries. The one who sometimes doubts in the dark but still shows up in the light. You are the only one who can do this, not because of your strength, but because of your surrender. And the enemy's worst fear? That one day you'd wake up and believe that. That you'd finally stop apologizing for your fire. That you'd finally stop editing your voice. That you'd finally stop minimizing your obedience. And start walking like the weapon heaven made you to be. You're not crazy. You're not too much. You're not disqualified. You're called. You're dangerous. You're necessary. And you're just getting started. No one knows how hard it really was for you. Not fully. They saw the smile, not the shaking hands. They saw the strength, not the storm inside. They saw the comeback, but never the cost. And maybe that's the point. You were never built to perform. You were built to withstand. They don't know what it took to keep showing up, to hold it together when everything was falling apart behind the scenes, to keep worshiping when your prayers sounded like echoes, to keep walking toward a promise that looked farther with every step. But God knows. He saw it all. Every time you swallowed your grief so others could feel safe. Every time you fought through anxiety just to be present. Every time you forgave, not because you wanted to, but because you refused to rot in bitterness. And He didn't forget. You're not crazy for feeling tired. This isn't ordinary pressure. This is the weight of assignment. And it's not on your shoulders by mistake. You were built for this. You don't feel like it, but you were. Others bend under this kind of heat. You burn bright, because what lives inside you can't be put out. You didn't just learn scripture, you lived it. You didn't just quote verses, you clung to them like lifelines. And in the crushing, oil came out. Not the kind that makes you look holy, the kind that makes hell nervous. You don't wear armor made of ego. You wear scars stitched by obedience. You don't fight like the world. You fight like someone who's died a few times and got back up without asking permission. And now, it's time to use what the fire gave you. Because you're not in this battle just to survive. You're in it to take ground. You weren't called just to defend the walls. You were called to storm the gates. And I know, you're tired. You didn't ask for this. You didn't sign up to be the strong one, the first one, the one who always gets hit first. But look again. You weren't placed on the front lines by accident. God sends His fiercest warriors to the most fragile places because you don't carry theory, you carry testimony. And testimony carries authority. And right now, your battle cry is needed. Not the polished version, the one with the cracks, the one that sounds like someone who's bled for every inch of their freedom. You want the fight to be over? Good. That means it's working. That means the enemy's pressure has hit capacity. That means something in you is threatening something around you. Because the moment you stop tolerating lies, chains start breaking. The moment you walk in your true identity, the counterfeit starts crumbling. The moment you lift your voice, the atmosphere starts shifting. So stop trying to be palatable. Stop trying to blend in. Stop trying to keep the peace with fear. You're not here to play nice with darkness. You're here to displace it.
You've been asking for rest, but maybe God is giving you something greater. Clarity. That this isn't just about you. That your fight is someone else's freedom. That your survival is someone else's permission. That your obedience is the soil someone else's miracle will grow in. That's why it's been so intense. This isn't about one moment. This is legacy. This is generational. This is eternal. You think the enemy's attacking you because of where you are? No.
He's attacking because of where you're going. You're getting close to breakthrough, close to territory that's been locked for years, close to unlocking things in your family line that no one before you dared to touch. And when you cross that line, everything changes. You think you're just fighting for peace in your own mind, but you're actually fighting for the atmosphere your kids will live in. You think you're just trying to heal your heart, but you're actually rewriting the story for your bloodline. You think you're just trying to make it through today, but heaven sees you building an altar for generations to come. This isn't random. Your assignment was designed with fire in mind. You weren't chosen for comfort. You were chosen to confront the things others keep avoiding. And here's the truth. God doesn't call the most qualified. He calls the ones who won't quit. You, the one who's prayed through panic, the one who's worshiped through weeping, the one who's kept quiet when it would have been easier to lash out. Heaven trusts you with this battle, and heaven never wastes trust. So take up your weapon, not out of rage, but out of remembrance. Remembrance that He never left you. Remembrance that He walked with you through every valley. Remembrance that even now, in this very breath, He's closer than your skin. You're not fighting alone. Angels surround you. Heaven backs you. The Spirit empowers you. And somewhere, someone is watching, waiting, hoping that you'll keep going. That you'll be the one who doesn't quit. The one who proves that fire doesn't kill, it forges. The one who shows that obedience still moves mountains. You are the only one who can do this, because no one else carries your exact battle scars. No one else cried the tears you did at 2 a.m. and still woke up with a yes in your heart. No one else bled in that private war and kept their worship alive. So this is your moment, not to feel ready, but to move anyway. Not to prove yourself, but to position yourself. Not to earn anything, but to honor what you already carry. Because this battle isn't just a test, it's a transfer of power, of purpose, of legacy. And you're the vessel. So take a breath, lift your head, and remember, the enemy should have stopped you when he had the chance, but he didn't. And now, it's too late. There's a moment when the flame touches flesh and it burns everything that isn't real. Not as punishment, but purification. And if you've been through that, if you've survived the kind of season that didn't just test your limits but tore them apart, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're not the same person anymore. The laughter doesn't hit the same. The surface level things that used to thrill you, they don't stick. The room full of people who once made you feel alive now feels too loud and too empty. You've changed. You've been changed by fire. And the world will tell you you've hardened, but that's not true. You haven't hardened. You've been hallowed, set apart, refined, made holy, not by perfection, but by pain that didn't kill your purpose. Do you remember the night you cried out and heaven was silent? The hour when you begged God to make it stop and He didn't. The season where everything was stripped, money, friendships, comfort, identity, and all you had left was breath. But what came next? A whisper. Not in thunder, not in wind, but in stillness. You realized something that shifted everything. God never promised ease. He promised presence. And presence changes everything. It didn't fix all the mess, but it kept you. when your faith fractured, when your trust slipped through your fingers like water, when all you could do was scream or stay silent, he didn't flinch because he never needed your performance, just your presence. You think he's impressed by titles, by eloquence, by staged prayers? No, he's drawn to the broken, to the real, to the ones who don't just quote scripture, but have actually wrestled with it at 3 a.m. You don't just talk about peace, you fought for it. You don't just sing about freedom, you had to choose it when bondage felt safer. And now you know God wasn't punishing you. He was pulling you through the noise, through the addiction, through the heartbreak, through the lies, and through it all, he was burning off what wasn't yours to carry. The false identity, the toxic survival mode, the pressure to be fine, the voices of people who couldn't see your calling clearly, all of it turned to ash. And from that ash, a voice rises. Yours, clear, honest, uncompromised. You don't need a microphone. Your very presence preaches. You walk into places and carry the scent of someone who's been with God, not just in worship services, but in the wilderness, not just in breakthroughs, but in the breaking. And that kind of presence, it's expensive, but it's also unstoppable. Because what God forges in fire can't be faked in comfort. That's why it had to happen this way. That's why it couldn't come easy. That's why it looked like loss when it was really refinement. God wasn't stripping you down to expose you. He was peeling off the layers that couldn't carry what's coming. Because what's coming requires someone with depth, someone who doesn't crumble at resistance, someone who knows the sound of God's silence and still keeps walking. That's you. You are the only one who can do this, because no one else let the fire make you holy instead of bitter. You let it break the pride. You let it crack the mask. You let it melt the fear. You let it purify the part of you that still needed to prove something. And now you move different. You don't chase approval anymore. You've been approved by the one whose voice thundered from burning bushes and calmed seas with a whisper. You don't beg for platforms. You carry altars. You don't fight for attention. You carry the attention of heaven. And this world, it's desperate for voices like yours. Not loud, but clear. Not perfect, but pure. They need someone who's been through the fire and didn't let it burn away their faith. Someone who can look hell in the eye and say, "You should have killed me when you had the chance." Someone who can walk into dry places and release rivers. Someone who isn't afraid to look foolish if it means staying faithful. That's you. You didn't come out of the fire just to go back to normal. You came out to ignite something, to awaken, to stir, to break what's been stuck for too long, to speak life into things people gave up on. And your voice, it's carrying more now than ever before, because what you carry was born in fire, and fire always recognizes fire. That's why new battles are showing up, not because you're failing, but because you're flaming, and fire disrupts. So don't you dare shrink. Don't you dare play small to make people comfortable. Don't you dare question the weight of your presence. You paid for it in tears. You earned it in silence. You lived it in the in-between seasons where no one saw the wrestle. So wear it. Stand in it. Let it blaze. You are not who you were. You're holy now. And holiness doesn't mean flawless. It means set apart. It means branded by glory. It means belonging completely, radically, fully to the one who saw you in the furnace and said, "I'm not taking you out yet. I'm stepping in with you." You were never alone. You were always becoming. So let them say what they want. Let the questions come. Let the old labels die. Let the past scream. You've been baptized in fire. And nothing can touch what God has marked in flame. You are the only one who can do this. And you've already proven you will.
Hell had a plan, a blueprint, a strategy carefully woven to make sure you never discovered who you are. And for a while, it almost worked. It used lies to cage your voice. It used rejection to distort your value. It used fear to barricade your future. But something happened. You got back up. Not polished, not with a perfect 10-step testimony, but with grit. Not the kind you find in books, the kind you find in battle. And that's the moment everything shifted. Because now you've become something hell didn't account for. A disruption. You're no longer reacting, you're responding. You're not begging for peace, you're carrying it. You're not wondering if you're chosen, you know you are. And that kind of clarity, it threatens systems. It rattles cages. It pushes back against every stronghold that tried to stake its claim on your story. You've become dangerous. Not in the way the world measures it, but in the way heaven defines it. You pray when you're under attack. You worship when everything around you feels like defeat. You move when God says move, even when your knees shake. You disrupt atmospheres with your presence alone. You don't need to speak loudly. You just walk in the room and things shift, because heaven walks with you. You were never meant to blend in. You were born to pierce the darkness, and the darkness knows it. That's why the warfare intensified the moment you stopped settling. That's why people began falling off when you chose consecration over convenience. That's why the things that used to tempt you no longer taste like home. You're different now, and different always disturbs the comfortable. You're the curse breaker, the cycle breaker, the voice that cracks generational silence, the one who said, "It ends with me, and it starts with me." You could have stayed silent. You could have settled for survival. You could have played the game, put on the smile, kept the peace, but you didn't. You stood. And that stand, it cost you. Let's not pretend it didn't. It cost you relationships. It cost you opportunities. It cost you ease. It cost you your former self. And you grieved that quietly. You wept for the comfort you had to crucify. You ached for the innocence that was stolen. You laid down the life you could have had to make space for the one heaven designed. That's not weakness. That's revolution. You are the disruption hell never saw coming. Because you didn't just get back up. You came back changed. Sharper. More intentional. Less distracted. More filled. And now, you're not walking into rooms hoping to be accepted. You're walking in to bring alignment. You've tasted what it means to walk with fire in your bones. And once you've tasted it, you can't go back to lukewarm. Not when you've seen what God can do with ruins. Not when you felt Him breathe into your ashes and call it holy ground. Not when your scars still carry the fingerprints of resurrection. You've been recommissioned. You're not waiting to be used. You're moving because you are. You're not doubting if you're the one. You're walking like, of course I am. Not out of pride, but out of clarity. You were never the backup plan. You were always the blueprint. The same God who split seas and silenced storms has chosen to dwell in you. And now, you've become a mirror, not to culture, but to Christ. You reflect something the world doesn't know how to categorize. Your posture isn't performance, it's presence. Your influence isn't noise, it's weight. And that weight, it breaks things. It breaks the chains of comparison. It breaks the cycles of fear. It breaks the addiction to applause. It breaks the spirit of mediocrity that wants you small, tame, and distracted. You're not here for any of that. You're here for glory, for truth, for holy rebellion, for kingdom legacy, for souls. And that's why you'll never be satisfied pretending to be someone else's version of enough. You've outgrown it. Because the anointing on your life doesn't sit quietly in the background. It commands movement. It awakens dormant hearts. It confronts sleepy churches and shallow religion. It walks into deserts and releases rain. Oh, it took surrender. And now, here you are, lit from within, rooted like never before, clearer than you've ever been. So go ahead, disrupt what's stale, shake what's dead, burn through the fog, break what needs breaking. And never forget, the reason the attacks came early, the reason they hit so deep, the reason the fire burned so long, is because you were the one who was never supposed to get back up. But you did. And now everything changes. You prayed for purpose. You didn't know it would feel like this. You asked for destiny, but no one told you that destiny comes disguised as disappointment. You said, "God, use me." And suddenly, you were alone, hidden, uninvited, unexplained, not punished, positioned. See, people think glory feels like lights and platforms. They don't realize it first feels like isolation. It feels like no one calling, doors staying shut, everyone else getting ahead while you're still stuck in the same hallway asking, "Did I miss something?" But what you didn't know was that was the answer. That was the yes. Because if he gave it all to you too soon, the applause, the ministry, the influence, the weight, it would have crushed you. So instead, he hid you. Not to break you, to build you. Because there's a kind of weight that doesn't look heavy on the outside, but inside, it bends your soul. It stretches your heart. It demands capacity you didn't know you'd need. Glory isn't loud. It's weighty. The kind of weight that reshapes your identity. And now you've stepped into it. Not because of who you know, not because of strategy, not because you posted enough reels or networked at the right conferences, but because heaven watched you needle in the dark when no one saw. You passed the test most never talk about. You stayed faithful when it was boring. No hype, no affirmation, just obedience, day after day, tears after tears, with nothing to show but a whispered, "Yes, Lord." And that's what drew the weight. You see, favor isn't always fun, and calling isn't cute. The true weight of glory doesn't make you feel bigger, it makes you feel smaller. It breaks your pride. It silences your need to prove anything. It hollows out space inside of you for him to fill. And right now, that's what you're carrying. Something sacred. Something that scares the enemy not because of its size, but because of its source. Because you didn't conjure this. You didn't chase it. You didn't force it. It found you in surrender. And now the pressure feels different, heavier, holier, because God's trusting you with something that most people mishandle. Not platform, presence, not clout, consecration. You walk with something that costs something, and it shows. In the way you love, in the way you forgive, in the way you see people others overlook. You walk into a room and discern the spiritual temperature before you even speak. You feel things no one else notices. You carry burdens that never even belong to you because your spirit is tuned to intercede before your mind catches up. You're not just walking and calling, you're moving in alignment. And alignment always feels lonely before it produces fruit. Because the deeper you go with God, the fewer people can go with you. Don't confuse that with failure. It's not punishment. It's preparation.
You're being carved out to carry revival. Not a church service, not a viral sermon, real revival. Revival in your family, revival in your city, revival in your lineage. And revival isn't loud at first. It starts in silence. It starts in hunger. It starts in people who carry fire in their bones and won't let go until heaven invades earth. You're one of those people. The quiet ones, the surrendered ones, the ones who got skipped over by man but selected by God. Because man looks at the outer resume, but God looks for altars, and you've become one. A walking altar, a living offering, a holy disruption. You're not just called, you're chosen and